This is Stamatia Nikitara, kindergarten principal, presenting communication channels, the significant in educational administration. The term communication is not limited to a single definition, but is a network of definitions where everyone examines and defines it differently. We would say that communication in the broadest sense of the term is called the art of effective exchange of information, which is completed by establishing mutual understanding between two or more people, between a person and a group, or between two or more groups of people. Communication skills, as the basis of social skills, according to Coleman, are the key to success, and they contribute decisively not only to professional stability, but also to the development of the individual in higher positions for organizations. And today, communication skills contribute significantly both to achieving a positive communication climate as well as to achieving goals. Verbal communication, as a basic form of communication, takes place through oral and written speech. Both oral and written languages have as their basic condition the effective exchange of messages. In writing, the ability to carefully compose a text, the correct decoding of the language in writing, clarity, careful vocabulary, and the correct presentation of arguments are important skills for every person who uses written speech. Effective speaking, on the other hand, requires the use of basic communication skills. The style and tone, the breaking of the voice, its intensity and temper, the rhythm and the pose, and the rich vocabulary are skills that play an important role in oral communication. Non-verbal communication refers to communication that takes place without the formation of words and sentences. It includes the movements and general posture of the body that contributes not only to the activation of people's emotions, but also to the further development of their social relationships. It reflects the physical and emotional mood, and through the use of gestures, important messages are derived, such as honesty, trust, success, defensiveness, nervousness, or waiting. Facial expressions are one of the main channels of non-verbal communication, as through the expression of the face a large number of emotions are revealed. Eye contact, on the other hand, is an important factor in creating a positive communication climate, as it expresses people's emotions, attitudes, and social relationships. For example, avoiding the gaze of a person who is communicating creates an impression of dislike, avoidance, and indifference. External appearance, last as a secret code of communication, includes clothing, hairstyle, makeup, and generally the entire external image of a person. It is considered an important factor in non-verbal communication, not only in the creation of good interpersonal relationships, but also the general presence of a person in the professional environment, as it is the first image of us. The difference between listening and active listening is that in listening we simply listen to someone without most of the time paying attention and understanding what he wants to tell us. In active listening, though, the listener is very focused, listens very carefully, and processes the speaker's information in depth, so that she or he can actively participate in the conversation. Active listening as a communication skill is very important because it helps to maintain proper communication without conflicts and tensions, to understand the expectations of others, as well as to solve problems that arise within an organization. The person who uses empathy perceives what his fellow man feels, goes inside him, and sees the world through the other person's eyes. Empathy presupposes three basic characteristics: understanding other people's feelings, feeling how the other person feels, and compassion for the sorrow. It is not only achieved through verbal channels of communication, but it can also be achieved through nonverbal messages. Through empathy, whether we're talking about interpersonal, professional, or friendly relationships, people come closer, they understand each other, and they develop mutual trust and mutual respect. Emotional intelligence, according to Coleman, is perceived as the ability that a person has to find motivation for himself and withstand disappointments, to control his impulse and curb his impatience, to properly regulate his mood and prevent frustration, to stifle the ability to think, to empathize, and to hope. In his model, Coleman defined 5 basic categories of abilities: knowledge, emotion management, self-motivation, relationship management, and recognizing the emotions of others. One of the most important skills that a principal must possess and use is attentive and active listening. As an active listener, the principal should be able to decode and interpret verbal as well as non-verbal messages, such as tone of voice, facial expressions, gestures, etc. Communicative principal leaders should have a high level of emotional intelligence. It is important to be open-minded and to have diversity in their way of thinking, so that they can see and think about things from the perspective of their interlocutor. Furthermore, they should summarize the most important points of the discussion between them and turn their attention to the solution to the problem that arises. In case of criticism that principals are asked to exercise, they should always characterize the behaviors and not the people. They also must praise the teaching staff more often than criticizing them. And finally, humor is also mentioned in the literature as an equally important means of communication. The ability on the part of the principal to develop good interpersonal relationships increases the productivity of the teachers, improves the quality of the productive work, and creates a communicative, positive working framework based on cooperation and team spirit. The principal, through the model of open communication, can contribute to the smooth adaptation of a teacher who may have difficulty integrating into the specific school community. In addition to the role of leader, the principals, by using their communication skills, can perform a consultative role, developing a consultative relationship with teachers. This way, they will improve collegial relationships, the working climate, the productivity of teachers, and the effectiveness of their teaching. However, the principal's activity does not stop only inside the school, as they are the connecting link between the school and the local community institutions. Therefore, called upon to develop a network of contacts where the communication between them will manage important information and will contribute to the effective communication and cooperation of the school unit with parents, agencies, and other schools. Since communication is a pillar of human relations, this implies that the communication skills of a principal are perhaps the most basic foundation for building good interpersonal relationships among all involved members. Summarizing, it was understood that communication skills have a dominant role in the formation of interpersonal relationships. They contribute decisively to the effectiveness of communication and are one of the keys that lead to the exercise of a successful administration. Thank you very much for your attention.